Have you ever had a TA who didn't speak English well, and for what class was this?
Yeah, I did. I have one right now in Biology 111.
And how did this impact your grade?
Well, the first lab practical didn't go so well.
Well, if you were a professor, what do you think you could do to improve the TA's teaching ability?
I know that there's a thing for AgEcon. It's kind of like an extra credit sort of thing. You can go and listen to them speak and kind of leave some comments. I think maybe if all of the classes sort of did that thing, and maybe not for extra credit, maybe you just need to go and actually listen and help them so they can be better teachers.
Mm-hmm. And do you think a lot of other Purdue students have the same problem with not being able to understand their TAs?
Yeah, I hear about it all the time.
Have you ever had a TA you couldn't understand in class, and for what class was this?
Yes, and it was in Math 152.
And how did this affect your performance?
Very badly, because I couldn't understand what he was saying, and so I couldn't really focus, and I was just trying to figure out what he was saying the whole time, so I didn't do very well.
If you had the opportunity to switch classes and get a new TA that could speak English well, would you choose to do that?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Have you guys ever had a TA that you couldn't understand in class, and for what class?
Yeah, I've had one for my Math 162 class and for my CS 159 class. It's definitely a completely different experience than I was actually looking forward to.
I've also had one for both Math and CS. It's made class a lot trickier.
And how did this affect your guys' performance? Do you feel like you could have done better?
I mean, there's definitely a big language barrier. I mean, it's definitely different for Math because it's really hard to understand how she explains things, but she just kind of writes it out and then sometimes second guesses what she thinks. So that makes it a lot harder to really learn the stuff if you didn't really learn it in lecture and get caught up on stuff that you might be behind on and looking for help in recitation.
Yeah, it's the same thing with me for Math. It was very difficult to ask for questions, and he didn't speak very fluently, so it made it hard when he was explaining anything. If we did ask a question, it's very hard to understand how he was going through the process, because he would just write it on the board and not tell you how he was doing any of it.
And if you guys had the opportunity to change this somehow, how would you do that?
I would definitely change the way they train the TAs, because I actually went to a foreign TA kind of meeting thing, and we got to, it was just a Q&A session with foreign TAs, and they got to ask us English speaking students what our assumptions about them were, and they really don't have much training at all. They come to Purdue and they don't have a month-long thing that they are just taught how to teach the class. They're just kind of thrown up in front of all these kids who really might not be too thrilled to see them as your TA, and they're just forced to try to do their best job, and that's probably really hard for them to do.
I've never attended any seminars like that for anything, but I would say I understand if they don't speak English very well, they could have some other sort of way that would make it easier, like writing it onto the board, just writing out what they're saying maybe, or coming up with some other process they could tell them to go through.